So how do you deal with that? Because we're called to follow Jesus, who taught us all those good things about love, agape love, love that doesn't discriminate, love that includes, love that deals with the sinner, love that deals with the mentally ill, love that, how do you deal with all that when you come every Sunday and you listen to Jack wax on about Jesus Christ and the love of God and the call of the disciple and, how do you mesh the two because they don't seem to fit together? Given that you're doing such good things in ministry and mission in dangerous areas. First thing is trust your gut. We felt like the area wasn't safe. You were right. Trust your gut. Nobody's got to tell you that. Remember, there's safety in numbers. When you're down there, even when you're back here, if you think somebody started a personal relationship with somebody, you need to check them. You need to all call them up and have an intervention. I'm telling you, it's a lot easier than having a funeral. If you're dealing with somebody and they've told you a story, start to verify some of it. You'll figure out, boy, that sounds like a doozy. Well, maybe I can't help you. And remember all the while about dignity. Probably could wax on and on and on and on, but Mixie wants me to sit down, I can tell.
We know that you have some questions for Faith and Bob, so if you both would come back to the podium, we will entertain some questions. Yeah. Gretchen.
How do you reach Wayne State? Is it a 911?
I believe we provide. Do you know off the top of your head or no?
Trying to remember. No, but I'll get the information.
We can email it to you, and every team should have it.
When you're in the area, they have those.
It should be inside the van.
That's a good
Yes,
idea.
that's a good idea.
Right on the bottom.
We'll post it in the vans.
They have blue lights on the post with the emergency phones on the campus, particularly on the perimeter of the campus. You pick those up and that gets you to them, but I don't know. When I worked down there, we didn't have cell phones.
The other thing is, if you lock yourself out of the van, Wayne State's very good about bringing. Not that I've done that, but the Detroit police will not, and Wayne State will. By the way.
Okay, Paul, will you repeat the question and be sure to use the microphone?
Sure. The question was, how do you reach Wayne State? And neither of them have an answer right now, but we will get the phone number. If you want the phone number, I think I'll have a sign-up sheet and you can write your email down and we will send that to you. But in the meantime, we will get the number and we will have it posted in a prominent place in the vans.
I have the number right here.
What took you so long?
313-577-2222.
Thank you. Any other questions? Oh, excuse me, yes, Nancy.
Actually, how far of an outreach will they have from Wayne State? What was their perimeter?
They work most of the 13th precinct, about half of the old 2nd precinct, about a quarter of the 1st precinct, and just a little bit of the 7th precinct. Some of those precincts have changed, but to give you an idea, anybody who's familiar with Wayne State knows that the campus is spread out all along from the new center right down to downtown. But they routinely patrol in about a 5 square mile area around the epicenter of the campus. I can't remember what the southern boundary was, but it's somewhere down near the stadium.
I think it's important to know that both Street Threads and Art and Soul are near Wayne State, and so we would feel more confident being able to use that number. Any other questions? Yes, Bill.
My son lives in Boston, and a friend of his does ministry in Boston with gangs. And one time I was driving with him, and he talked about how he infiltrated or whatever this gang and brought them around and this and that and that. And I said to myself, I know gangs exist in Detroit, but I don't know where they are or who they are or whatever. Could we hear a little bit more about gangs in the area of street threads in central UMC?
Did everybody hear that question? Okay. Yes.
Well, there's a large volume of gang activity in Pontiac. Most of it's not in the downtown area near the it's spread around more around the perimeters, mostly involved in drug trafficking. And most of the time, they get up around 1 o'clock in the afternoon and go to bed around 5 in the morning for the most part. I only mentioned the gangs. I don't think it'll be a tremendous threat to your work. I bring it up, though, only in terms of recognizing the clothing and its potential danger sign. Again, a lot of the gang activity is spilling out into Auburn Hills, Rochester Hills, Moraine Township, Waterford Township. And that's precisely why my boss, Mike Bouchard, initiated this gang task force, because we need to get ahead of this problem, and we need to keep them from becoming entrenched in this county as they have in other areas around the country. Believe it or not, they franchise. Crips, the Bloods, they actually send people up and prospect and set young people up as like a franchise of the LA branch. It's highly organized, and most of it centers around a fraternity, if you will, that sells drugs.
There is some some crime. Let's go home. There are some gangs that are active around the Cass corridor, not as prevalent as in other areas. You can tell gang activity by buildings that have been marked with gang graffiti. Mostly what you need to worry about is drug activity, to tell you the truth, in our area, which may or may not be related to gangs.
I will just relate something that I think is of interest. Faith has a program called PATH at Cass, and it is to help people secure Social Security benefits through disability or whatever. And Faith has been good enough to send 1 to 3 of her people with us every Monday when we're at Street Threads. And they received the word that the building in which we were standing in front of, I think I said that with a preposition at the end, but anyhow, had become a known crack house. And we were standing in front of that every week, and we had gotten to know a lot of the people, but we had also noticed an increase in activity that was making us uncomfortable. So when they told us that this was something they wanted us to be aware of, we moved down the street for a while, but we continued to feel uncomfortable. And within, I would say, 3 weeks, we made the decision that we were potentially in harm's way. So we engaged Faith. She came and met with us and took us to a new location. And we're now in a park, and we've gone twice, and we're feeling a lot safer about the location. And we're near, we're only 3 blocks away from Cass Church, but we're also in an area where there are more apartment buildings where the drug problem is. It still exists, but it isn't overwhelming the way it was where we were. Any other questions? Yes?
What is the proper response? I don't know if there's one proper, but proper response is when somebody comes to you with a story. Is there a time that you give them money, or do you refer them other places, or what is the proper response then?
Did everybody hear that question? No. She's asking what is the proper response when someone comes to you either asking for help or for money?
I never give money. I never give money. Everybody's watching you. If they're asking for food, I can make food available. If they're asking for gas, I can make gas available. If they're asking for transportation, all of those things can be made available. And by using the PATH people, the same is true with your team, and I'm sure Central could do the same. But do not give money.
I would add too, you can refer them to send them, if they're desperate, the gas thing, this thing, that thing, send them to the local precinct and tell them that the officers at the precinct will have access to social resources that they might be able to help them out. And if they're really desperate, they'll go there. If they're scamming, they'll know that you know what's going on. We had quite a problem at a church I belonged to for 20-some years in Troy, where every Sunday, just by coincidence, there'd be these folks that look just like you and I do in the lot, and they all have a story, and they knew to be there at 11 o'clock when all the good Christians came out into the parking lot, and they're getting the folks up for money. It's a scam. 99% of the time, it's a scam. And just giving them the money and them getting over on is just one issue. But in some of the environments where it's a little more dog eat dog, they just want you to get your wallet out because they're going to grab it.
Let's just say we don't give money in our parking lot either. We don't give money in our parking lot ever.
The Street Threads experience, we did give money one time, and the next week we probably had 3 or 4 people asking for money. They live in shelters together, a lot of them do, and once the word is out, Monday, 3:30, Peterborough and 2nd, they'll give you money. So we don't bring any money with Street Threads, and I would presume Art and Soul the same. I would hope it's the same. I saw another hand up. Yes, Sharon.
I'm involved in Street Threads, and I wrote down Wayne State's emergency number. My question is, with the possibility of a smash and grab, would you advise me to keep my cell phone on me when I'm handing out food, or keep it in the church van where somebody could break the window and grab it?
The question is, she's involved in Street Threads, and she's wondering if it makes sense to keep her cell phone on her or in the van in the event of a smash and grab.
How frequent is one pickpocketed for a cell phone? We're busy handing out food. I mean, what do you recommend?
I would recommend keeping the cell phone with you. I would recommend leaving your purse. I never have a purse. It's not a fashion statement. I just value my fingers and my arms.
No, I never bring a purse.
Yeah, so cell phone maybe in a pocket or in your bra. Yeah.
I concur with that, because you can wear, again, when you're going on a mission, think about what you're going to wear, and wear it appropriate for women. Wear an appropriate jacket that has a zipper pocket that you can put just those essentials in. And I would consider the cell phone an essential. And if someone, puts you in danger and wants your cell phone, give it to them. And hopefully they'll use it, and we can track them and arrest them.
Yes.
Are we better off using something other than the church van, or is that good public relations? I mean, are we setting ourselves up by being church people?
The question is, are we better off using the church van, or would we be less conspicuous in another type of vehicle?
You're just conspicuous. It doesn't matter. You might as well get some good press out of it, don't you think, Jack?
I concur. There's probably not much you can do to go into that environment, spend some time on a corner and folks not figure out what's up. And to add to that, maybe on a little brighter aspect of human nature, there are folks that live in those environments that when they know you're down there with your church group, they will help out. They will look out for you to some extent. So I guess it's better to have that on my side, because they are going to know who you are. And secondly, I think it is good to get the word out and let people driving by know that people care.
Yes, Jan.
This is more of a comment rather than a question. I have a good friend who's a physician at DMC, and we talk about keeping our driver's license with us, and he said, God forbid, if you're down there, you should also have your medical card in case you have to be transported for some kind of medical attention. You get a lot better care if you've got that Blue Cross card than if you say, I don't have it, So I think that's something we need to always carry as a driver's license and some kind of medical card.
Jan has made the comment that she was told by a physician that in addition to your driver's license when you are doing one of these mission trips, you should always have your Blue Cross or your insurance card because you will get much faster and definitely they will respond to you in some way when you are transported to a hospital facility. Anything else? Any other questions? Okay, I want to thank you all so much for coming. It just warms our heart to know that you care enough about the missions of this church to want to be street smart and sensible. And also to our guest speakers, the missions committee has a little something for them.